I've got friends and family who are literally like, I turn on my phone, I'm getting edits after edits after edits, and it's just drawing people in to watch it. He sees the vulnerability in Adam, he sees the vulnerability in Persephone. I'm looking at this with book two in mind. I'm being very optimistic. I'm sure if Adam Boyce were here, he'd be saying, "Shut up, Harry."
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Heart Emotion podcast. I'm so excited to welcome Toby-Alexander Smith to the podcast. How are you doing, Toby?
I'm doing all right. Thanks very much. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Riding the wave with you guys, I'm sure, with Seeking Persephone that's continuing to gain momentum. It's so interesting to watch as it continues to spread to more platforms, how the popularity of the series just continues to grow. When I was visiting with Will Kemp the other day, we were talking about it just coming over to Angel Studios, and
hmm
it's a whole nother, audience. So what's it like for you to hear the popularity of Seeking Persephone?
I mean, it's been such a whirlwind. I mean, I'm grateful for this opportunity to obviously be able to talk to you and talk to you about Seeking Persephone because, you know, Ryan and Jake and Sarah and John have done such an incredible job, promoting this film and doing interviews and podcasts. And I've loved watching from the sideline. But then when you reached out, I thought, you know what, I want to sort of throw my hat in the ring because I feel so proud of this project too. And I'm probably equally as passionate as the others. And, I think it's just one of the most incredible accomplishments I think I've witnessed. This industry is so hard to navigate at the best of times. And a lot of the risks that we all take as sort of creative people, a lot of the time don't pay off. And to watch this wonderful risk really pay off is so rewarding. And I'm just so thrilled for everyone involved because they really deserve it. They're just the nicest people in the world as well, which, makes it even better.
I think it's exciting for us knowing that, this is an independent project and everybody just put their heart and soul into it. And to see, when you just tell a good story and you tell it well, that it can have its moment. So it's exciting for us as well. So,
It was all there. It was all there on the paper, as soon as I sort of read the script and saw who was getting cast in it and things like that. And, when the sort of conversations down the line started happening about where we were going to be filming it in the UK and stuff like that, I thought this is coming together very well. And if anyone can pull this off, it's John Lydon. And boy, has he pulled it off.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so for people who were introduced to you through Seeking Persephone, catch us up a little bit on your acting journey. Like, what have you done? Because I've noticed even we've got a Hallmark project in the IMDb as well, which I don't know that many people know that, but catch us up to like your acting journey to Seeking Persephone.
So the grassroots for me, I came to it quite late. I actually started off as a singer first, as a teenager. I was convinced we had a school trip to Venice when I was about 15, and I was quite happily playing the keyboards in the school band. And then my music teacher, somehow a week before we were due to go to Venice, twisted my arm and said, "You're singing uh, Love is in the Air at the concert that we're doing in Venice next week." And I was like, "No, I don't think I am." But she did twist my arm, and my sort of first ever public exposure to sort of performing in front of an audience was in front of several hundred, if not shy of 1,000 people in a town square in Venice. And that was my bug, really. That was where I was like, okay, I don't know how, but I want to sort of find this again and keep doing this. And then I sort of started to explore musical theatre. I sort of merging the two things together, singing, acting. Then I started dancing. And then I got into a drama school in London called Arts Educational Schools, which is, it's one of the good ones. Trained there for 3 years. Came out, did a show in the West End for a year, a musical, Mamma Mia,
Yeah.
which was fun.
Yeah.
And then my career just sort of took a sort of TV and film route after that. I just started getting exposed to sort of more cast and directors that dealt with TV and film, and slowly started booking more and more jobs. And then I landed a job called EastEnders, which is a pretty big show here in the UK. It's been going for about 40 years. It's kind of BBC's sort of flagship drama, continuing drama. And I was in that show for 3 years, and that's sort of where the sort of catapult in my sort of career kind of came because you get a lot of exposure, you know, doing that job, and it gets millions of views. And so it was kind of like I'd gone from being a a jobbing in between actor to all of a sudden you've got something as prestigious as known, as EastEnders, and it's one of the things you get asked all the time as an actor is have you been in anything we might have heard of, and so being in the UK to see does something like EastEnders, it's quite iconic. It's part of sort of British culture. So that was a crazy 3 years, and I was actually playing a very dark character, something different to that what I'd ever done before. Very heavy. We were dealing with a domestic abuse storyline. And then in sort of true soap fashion, it became a bit more heightened and it sort of veered into more of a serial killer. Uh, so I did that for 3 years. And then all of a sudden, I'm going back to playing Mr. Nice Guy again, which has been crazy because a lot of people in the UK know me for playing that character in EastEnders, but obviously, I guess now more international audiences are knowing me for playing a lot nicer guys, which is nice.
Yeah.
So that's kind of up until the point until with a sort of the initial springboard before Seeking Persephone kind of started bubbling away.
Do you like playing both sides of it? Just a little bit of changing it up?
Totally. No, I do. I mean, that particular character, he was called Gray, very complex, psychologically complex, and a real gift for an actor to sort of,
Yeah.
really explore some heavy, heavy stuff. And it was a challenge for sure. But I guess that is what you want as an actor, because playing the nice guy is fun too, but it's fun in a different way and it's
Yeah.
sort of creatively different. Um, but yeah, so then after that, I was auditioning and auditioning, and then something came up. It was a film called Love Across Time, which was directed by Candlelight Media. It was Brian Brough, sorry, directed it. Candlelight Media produced it, and John Lydon was the cinematographer on that. So they came over to the UK to shoot that film, and that's kind of how my relationship with John started. So
Yeah.
basically, we uh, we bonded pretty much straight away. Actually, on the first day of set, we started having a dialogue about film scores. I'm a massive film score buff, as is John. Very happy to talk about the Seeking Persephone film score, by the way, because I'm obsessed. It's just so good. But we started talking about film scores, and I started to say, I know quite a bit about film scores. And just as we were about to go onto our first location, I was in one car in the car park. John was in his, and he wound down the window and he was playing loudly a piece of film music. And I just shouted, "Thomas Newman, Finding Nemo!" within about 3 seconds. And John just laughed his head off. And then we spent the whole of the rest of the shoot. He would just play like in between takes, like a different piece of film music, and I would guess which one it was. And so we kind of bonded over that. And even now, like he'll text me if he hears of a decent film score. He's like, "Have you heard this? Have you heard this?" Um, so that was kind of like the personal friendship side of things. But then creatively, I saw John work, and I was so impressed. I mean, he's what he does on the floor of a set, is so impressive. His vision is incredible. And I think a lot of that comes from his editorial
Mhm.
side. And I got to know that very quickly. And I sort of built a lot of trust in John very quickly and respected him very much as a cinematographer. And, he'd give me very subtle acknowledgements after takes. And it felt good because you were in good hands. You were like, okay, I've given him something there that he can use. And, whether it ends up on the cutting room floor or not, it's a different matter. But you've given him something where he goes, I can use that. Great. Little thumbs up, things like that. And so that was that film, which was a very charming little, again, independent film about a duke who, from the same sort of area as Seeking Persephone, actually, he time travels through a mirror into the modern day world. And it was really fun because, again, it was very different to anything I played before in terms of the EastEnders character. Uh, and I got to bring out this very sort of playful, naive, kind of almost boyish type character who's seeing the world for the first time. And I don't know what the catalyst was for John, but certainly, I guess that playfulness that was in that particular character, he might have gone, maybe there's a bit of Harry in there because we kind of had that conversation towards the end of the shoot that he'd got this project that he was working on. He got the rights to this book, started talking to me about this character called Harry. I was oblivious to all of it at the time and sort of I hadn't read the books or anything. And I just said, look, I would love to work with you again in whatever capacity. This project sounds really exciting. I know there's a long, long road ahead here, but let's keep talking and, hopefully something will start to develop. Um, and then I can go on to the next stage if you want me to keep talking or if you want to jump in, because
Keep talking. No, go for it.
I'm just waffling away and I'm sure if Adam Boyce were here, he'd be saying, Shut up, Harry.
Shut
So,
up, Harry.
um, so then in came the Hallmark film, um, which was a film called American in Austin, which is again it was an adaptation of Pride and Prejudice. Very, very fun. I was playing Mr. Bingley, and
Great sidekick character as well.
yeah, 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 yeah. We had such a great time on that shoot, and funnily enough, the director of that film also knew John Lydon really, really well because
Mm,
I was talking to John again around that time because I think they'd just launched the Kickstarter campaign. And I'd said to Claire, the director, I was like, I've just been speaking to John Lydon. He said hello. She was like, oh my goodness, how do you know John Lydon? He's literally taught me like everything I know.
yeah.
So like small worlds colliding. But it was when I was doing that film that I was going on tape for Sarah and John for Harry. And I did one take for them whilst we were shooting. And then Sarah gave me some notes. I was like, I'm going to read the second book because I think this is really going to help. And I read the second book, called to Miss Lancaster, went back and did a different scene. And then I got a text from John saying the writer said, nailed it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, and I was so glad that I did read that second book because you get so much in that first one, but obviously the real crux of Harry start to really sort of come out in that
Mhm.
second book. And so it was that job where I knew I was going to become part of this project. Funnily enough, I was working with Kat, Catherine Hannay, who plays Athena
Yes.
Lancaster, and she was playing Jane Bennett. And so I'd been working with her on that shoot, and we've been doing loads of like the romantic scenes and the ballroom scenes, lots of dancing. We were in Bulgaria, and if we got this step, we had this Bulgarian really strict dance teacher who literally would just scream at you if you got a foot wrong. It was a laugh, it was an experience. But I just read Courting Miss Lancaster, and I was like watching Kat, and I was like, she'd be a great Athena. I was like, but this was like so early stages. I was literally thinking like that second book, we're talking way, way off. But it was just that little plant that planted that seed in my head that I was like, she'd be great as Athena. Didn't even say
Mhm.
it to John at the time. And so we wrapped on that film. And then where are we? And then yeah, I think it was just a case of waiting for the Kickstarter money to start coming in, and so that basically cameras could start rolling. And I know John and Sarah must have been pulling their hair out because I can't imagine how stressful it must have been doing all of that. But it was so impressive, to just get to be on set and be like, wow, you guys, you've done it, you've made it happen.
Yeah. So were you the one that was able to plant the seed for the Athena part?
So I told John, so we have a casting breakdown system here in the UK called Spotlight, and so you basically you will put the breakdown out there with the project and the casting details of the characters, and I think it's how John found a lot of the sisters and things. Uh, they got a lot of submissions for Athena, and they did recalls and recalls, and then I'd said to John early on, just take a look at Cat. It is your call. This isn't my project. This is entirely up to Sarah. It's up to you, but just have a look at Cat, see what you think. And they kept seeing Cat, and then they got us to do chemistry reads. So I read in with a few different Athenas,
Yeah.
read in with Cat, and I just said, look, I've worked with Cat. I can vouch for her. She's professional. She's brilliant. She's got a wonderful, playful energy, which I think is perfect for Athena. I'm looking at this with book two in mind. I'm being
Yeah.
very optimistic. You need someone who can deliver comedy. There are some brilliant scenes in that second book, and I was thinking if you find the right actors to play the suitors, pair them with Kat, you're going to have some brilliant, brilliant scenes. And then I was like, that's it. That's my pitch, but you've got to go on your instinct. I don't want to sway this. Um, and they all collectively, discussed and things like that, and decided that Kat was definitely the right one for the part.
So now that you've seen, over the last 3 months, the hype behind Seeking Persephone and how
Hmm.
it's, does it get you more excited thinking, hey, number two, like this could happen?
It's so funny. I picked up the book the other day because when I worked with Sarah, she gave me like quite a rare collection of all the books. Um, and it's literally been on my bookshelf downstairs in the living room the whole time. And I keep looking at it, I keep looking at it. And as we sort of the momentum keeps building, I'll just sort of cast an eye over to Courting with Lancaster. I was like, do I start reading it again now or do I wait? And I've waited. I still haven't picked it up off the shelf yet because I'm just crossing everything. I don't want to tempt fate. Um, but yeah, it feels like everything's moving in the right direction, and the the noise on social media is crazy. I think one of the things that astounded me is what social media, the power of social media has done for this because,
Yeah.
I've got friends and family who are literally like, I turn on my phone, I'm getting edits after edits after edits, and it's just drawing people in to watch it. It's incredible. And it is, I think, largely down to the fans that they've created this massive engine that is driving this project forward. Because at the end of the day, it's all about demand. And, if enough people want season two to happen, then fingers crossed, it will. But we'll have to wait and see. I don't want to get too excited, but I love this character so much, and we can talk about Harry a bit more if you want to, but there's so much more to explore with him in the second
Yeah.
book. Um, so.
So let's talk about Harry. You get the script. Do you read the script before you read the book, or book and then script?
I'd read the book. I'd read both books before
Okay.
script, and it just came straight off the page. To be honest, even reading the books, it came straight off the page. It almost read as a screenplay. The dialogue just absolutely flowed like beautifully, and you could just see it playing out. So yeah, read the script, started just getting my head down with Harry, and just I guess voice and physicality. And the thing is, obviously, you've got Adam, you've got Persephone, and then it's kind of working out because I didn't know what Jake and Ryan were going to do performance-wise. I'd never worked with them before. And so it's kind of a shot in the dark, and you've got the added pressure that you've got a huge fan base who already have an expectation of what they see Harry being like.
Yeah.
And so I'm trusting my instincts here of sort of how does he walk around Falston Castle? How comfortable is he? Does he really treat it like his own home? And a lot of that I really tried to put into this first season with the way that even the way in the cathedral, I deliberately wanted to sort of slink out of there because again, it was just another moment of like, show's over, folks. Like he just slinks out like like a little jester.
Yes.
And then in scenes with like Harry in his book room, just the audacity that he would start moving his furniture around and he'll put his boots up on the desk and stuff like that. And it was all little things like that where I was like, what can I do in this scene to really push Adam's buttons, And that a lot of that was the physicality that I got to play around with, and John let me have a lot of creative freedom with that. So it was fun. He's a lot of fun.
It's interesting, I was going to ask that about the pressure knowing how popular this book series is. That, but at the same time, like Ryan shared, when she needed to know more about Persephone, having that book was such a gift. And so striking that balance between, okay, gosh, there's this pressure to live up to what people expect, but also, man, I need this book. Like this really helps me figure out how to play this character.
Yeah, I mean, there's very few opportunities where you've got a whole book, like an encyclopedia, basically about your character. And not only that, you've got the author on set too. So anything that's not in the book, if we're going to work on backstory, you've got the author right there as well. And that is a gift because,
Yeah.
like I say, a lot of the choices that I made in Seeking Persephone, I pulled out of characteristics that I'd read in the second book. For example, uh, I'd read in Courting with Lancaster that Adam is driven mad by Harry's whistling around the castle. Not knowing if we go into Courting with Lancaster, I was like, well, I'm gonna try and get that into season one. And so I said to John, I was like, so Adam hates Harry whistling. Why don't I just whistle down the corridor during this scene? And John was like, yeah, love it. And even to the point where I was like, what do I whistle? What do I choose here? And I remember there was a piece of music that I studied in school. It was like a Haydn piece of classical music called The Joke. And it's really not very funny. But back in those days, this string quartet would play this piece of music and the audience would find it absolutely hilarious. And I just had this image in my head of Adam just thinking it was ridiculous because it's not very funny, but everyone else would find it hilarious. And so I was like, what song would really not? I mean, it's a stretch, but I was like, if I'm going to go there. Um, so that was the little tune that I was whistling in that scene and just planting some little seeds and just, like I say, the second book really gives you nuggets that really shape Harry.
Yeah. So Harry's the loyal friend, the comic relief, the emotional anchor, and the person who says a lot of times what we as the audience is thinking. Did you like playing one of those sides of Harry more than the other?
I think what's lovely about Harry is he's a gentleman by nature, albeit, doesn't feel worthy of the actual gentleman status. And I think that's a really interesting to play because ultimately it comes down to kindness. He's a very kind human being. He's very loyal, supportive, loves to be the icebreaker at any given opportunity if he can. And you know, it all comes from a place of love. That's the thing. He's not just this comic relief. He's just constantly trying to crack a joke. It's breaking the tension for both of them. He sees the vulnerability in Adam. He sees the vulnerability in Persephone. It's how can I make her feel comfortable? How can I let Adam lower his guard? And he uses his humor through that because, especially with Adam, because they've got this history of going to, college together and they've known each other for years. And I think a friendship like that, you do have in jokes, you do have a very personal sense of humor. And Harry's probably got a score sheet of how many times he's probably made Adam grin at the least, and that's probably joyous for Harry because it's good for you to laugh. And I think he probably sees Adam fairly miserable most of the time. And so for Harry, it's like, I'm going to try and lift his spirits. If there's anyone who can lift his spirits, it's me. And I think he sees that very much with Persephone because he sees that attempt at making Adam laugh. It softens him and it also softens Persephone. And it also opens up that human side of Adam to Persephone.
Yeah.
So he's a kind of a matchmaker in that sense. And I did really enjoy the scenes with the three of us, I have to say, because it really was very fun to just sort of shoehorn my way into their romance bubble.
It was fun for me to see our very first scene of Harry at the wedding and remove Harry from from that moment and it's very just like what is she walking into right now? And we're seeing Adam where he's got the wall up and he's, that stoic in him. But what we see Harry is just like it's all going to work out. Like, I got this figured out. And then, even when they get into the carriage and you just see this big smile, and I think for us as an audience who maybe hasn't read the book, and we're like, okay, we're going to hang on because Harry thinks it's okay. So, for us as an audience, we were really hanging on to Harry as well to kind of guide us through the story.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting, and I think you're right. I think I guess the intention behind that sort of joyous smile in Harry's face is this is going to be a bumpy ride, but we're all going to be okay.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I know this guy, and it's going to be fairly turbulent for the first couple of days as we sort of settle into this new life as a three, I guess, including the Dowager as well. Um, but yeah, I think that sort of bit of light relief with Harry, as you say, takes that sort of edge off slightly.
Yeah. Really enjoyed getting to know the friendship between Adam and Harry. We see, one of their first scenes when they're talking. Harry's not backing down from Adam at all and is not intimidated by him. What's your favorite thing about that friendship between the two of them?
It is that sense, like you say, the not backing down. He knows that Adam respects him for that. And I think there's a line where he says, Adam would never admit it, but I think he
Mm.
respects me.
Yeah.
And I think that's so true. And I think deep down there's such a fondness there, and they've both had their own difficulties in life, and their sort of difficulties have mutually brought them together and made their friendship stronger. And Harry's vulnerable as well, and we've not seen that yet. And I think one of the interesting things about again the first season is obviously we see Adam on his own a lot. We see Persephone on her own a lot, a lot of vulnerability there. We don't really see Harry on his own. What does Harry look like on his own with his own thoughts in his own space? And that's something I'm excited to explore. But in terms of going back to your question with their friendship, you know, I mean, I loved the scene where he says to Adam, "I'm here to be your conscience,
Hmm.
to save you from yourself." We all need someone like that. Do you know what I mean? Like life's complicated, and how nice is it to have someone on your shoulder to just steer you along the right path when things get a bit complicated and you don't know whether to use your head or your heart. And that's what I love about Harry. His intentions are good, and he knows that Adam's a good person. And he knows what's good for him, which is
Yeah.
Persephone.
And I think it's so nice to watch that friendship between Harry and Persephone develop because it's like he immediately just swoops in to help her as well and kind of set her at ease that, hey, he and I, we've stayed friends this long. Like, let me be here for you as well, which was so fun for us to watch.
Well, I think again, like Harry's got empathy bucket loads, you know. And whilst Adam is so all consumed with by this situation, Harry would have been privy to what Persephone has just sacrificed. His empathy will be there. He knows how hard this is for her, you know, sitting around a breakfast room table for the first time that morning, you know. You must be able to cut the tension with a knife. And Harry's the guy to do that, you know.
Um, there's a great moment that keeps, and you've already kind of hinted at it, that the whole "shut up, Harry" moment, which I don't know when I can track my comments on YouTube. And there was like 400 and some comments for Jake's interview, and "Shut up, Harry" is right up there at the top about. And I just think that it's such a good moment because in my mind, it really starts to show that Adam and Persephone are coming together when they're now on this level page that they're coming back at Harry. It was a really fun moment for us to see as well.
And I think it's a fun moment for Harry. I think for him it's almost even though he's shocked, I think he's gone, oh, it's worked. And maybe I didn't expect it to work this quickly,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you know, it's worked. And you know, it's good for Adam to have someone else other than Harry in his life, you know, and I think he knows that. Um, and so yeah, I agree. I think it's a really lovely moment. And as I say, we had a lot of fun doing that scene because we all knew it was coming and we all knew it was a bit of a fan favorite scene as well, where they both, especially when they both tell her to shut up. Persephone first, and then they both do it. It's great writing, and it just made it so easy and fun for us to perform it.
I've heard from everybody that I've talked to just that level of collaboration. You mentioned it even earlier with John and his directing style. In moments like that, are you guys really sticking to the script or is there some improv that's going on? Because I know that there's a lot of collaboration that happens.
And there really wasn't much improv, as I say, that a lot of the creative freedom came with things like physicality and stuff like that, but there really wasn't any need to change the dialogue because it was so good. Like I say, it just came straight off the page.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to think of an example. There's a moment when Harry's in the book room and like he's basically working out why Adam's so miffed about this situation, and then he realizes why, and he turns, and just like then, John was like, "Give me something there,"
Yeah.
and I was like, "Okay." I was like, "What about like an O?"
Hmm.
And John was like, "It's an O. Give me
Yeah.
an O." Just like little things like that, where
Yeah.
creatively we go, it just needs something. It's that, you know, and it just lifts it, you know.
Yeah. That's been another thing that so many of the fans have been talking about is those little bitty subtleties or even sometimes the subtext. And I think that's why there's so much rewatch going on with Seeking Persephone. It's because every time they go back, it's like, oh, there's these little bitty things. Now everybody's going to go back just to hear Harry whistling down the hallway, by the way. So we do have a great conversation. I feel like when they're talking, where Harry says, "You're my family," like I don't have. So that's a great moment, but it also is kind of setting us up maybe for more of Harry's story and what's to come.
Totally. I think that's the thing with Harry, you know. I think that's for Harry, there's a lot of imposter syndrome there as well. You know, I think he thrives off being in a room full of people and being the guy to live. He's, you know, he enjoys being the tonic. He enjoys being the person to lift everyone's spirits, and he knows he's good at it. You know, he's got the gift of the gab and the charm, and he knows, you know, he probably knows everyone in that castle at the back of his hand, and they all know him and they all like him, and you know, he thrives in that environment. But there's also a lot of, you know, do I even deserve to be here? Like I say, he's a gentleman by nature and he was born a gentleman, but he doesn't have the wealth to prove it. And I think in those days, your wealth was your biggest form of identity. And if you do not have that wealth, what are you? And you know, he's living in Adam's shadow. And so I think that will weigh heavily on him privately. And I think that also bleeds into the sort of the next story, you know, is he worthy of love?
Mm,
You know,
yeah. Do you think Adam and Persephone would have ended up together without Harry?
that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know because I really do.
I just kept
I don't.
finding all these moments where it's like, okay, Harry swoops in. Okay, Harry swoops in. Okay. You just move them along a little bit. Maybe they would have eventually got
Yeah,
there.
I think it wouldn't have happened as quickly. I
Yeah.
think it would have taken longer for Adam to drop his guard and for Persephone to kind of see the
Yeah.
real side in him.
Yeah.
Um, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, I just think of the moment where Harry is telling Persephone about not backing down. You mentioned it,
Hmm.
that level of respect. So he's planting those little bitty moments. But yeah, maybe it would just taken a little bit longer.
Yeah, I mean, he says he's worth it's the line. I've got baby brain, 4-month-old baby brain. Trying to, he's worth sorting out Persephone.
Oh
That's what he
yeah,
says. He says he is worth sorting out
he's
Persephone,
worth.
and
Hmm.
I think there's a level of trust at that point between their relationship where he knows that's going to land with Persephone.
Yeah,
She's going to have to work it out for herself. But just to hear Harry say he's worth sorting out, from someone like Harry to say that, you know.
yeah. So at the heart, this story is it's romance, but it's not just romance. There's a lot of friendship that's going on in this. Loyalty, people showing up for each other. What do you think Harry teaches Adam about friendship and about love?
I think by the end of the film, I think he's taught Adam to be more vulnerable and that it's okay to not be okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
You see that wall really come down at the end of the series, when Adam's so emotional, and it's almost that Harry's just constantly trying to turn that tap on Adam, just let it go, just release some of this built up, frustration and tension over all these years and locked in emotion. And I think for Harry, it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah. Was there a scene that you were especially excited to film when you saw it on script?
Um, the book room scene was great. First, sort of getting my teeth into Harry and establishing that relationship for the first time. Um, because that was very much just Harry talking at Adam.
A
John just
lot of
rolled.
talking.
John just rolled, and that took a little minute to learn and make choices and things like that. But I loved that, and I loved the fact that Adam just has to sit and listen to it.
Yeah.
That was really fun. And then, I mean, just being in at Raby Castle is, as you can see, is so stunning. One of the things I remember saying to John at the time, because it was going to delay the filming because of how much it was going to cost to shoot on this location. But I was like, this is one of the most stunning locations in the UK. You've got things like Victoria and Elizabeth, some of the most brilliant British TV shows have shot at this castle. If you can make this happen, it's going to take it from here to like here.
Incredible. Hmm.
Um, Add the film score on top, you know.
Let's talk about film scores
Let's
because you
talk
mentioned
about the
you've
film
got
score.
the musical background. So there's some great music, but talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, it's so good. Like, I knew John would want this score to be perfect for the film, and I always remember when he sent me a clip uh, of an orchestra in Bulgaria. They were playing the arrangement that the composer had composed, and they were recording live in a studio. I was like, "What? That's going to be an hour film?" He was like, "This is a sample from." I was like, "Wow, like you mean business? You've gone above and beyond here, you know?" And I just think it's the most. I'm not. I mean, I'm biased, but genuinely, it's one of my most favorite scores I think I've ever heard. Just because it does everything it needs it to. Like the opening. Um, I remember watching the opening scene and just the landscape and the costumes, and then that opening, I guess, main title. I got goosebumps. I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
wow, I've not even seen anything I've done yet, and I already feel so proud to be part of this. There's another piece of mo music. It's called The Lancasters Depart, and it's when Persephone basically says goodbye to her family for the first time, and they're all leaving, and it just builds and builds and builds. And there's this section, I think it's about 2.5 minutes in. That's how many times I've listened to it. I think I know exactly when it comes, but it's like that violin solo kicks in where it's like and it's when Persephone almost can't find somewhere quick enough to hide so that she can just blah, like just let it all out. And then while she's letting out all these emotions, you've just got these soaring strings that just like flood. And yeah, I geeked out when I heard it. I think it's just the perfect score. I love it so much. Um, so.
It really does add a lot. We need to tell everybody needs to go back now and just lay there, sit there with your eyes closed and just listen. And it really is fantastic. It really is. I mean, top quality.
It really is, and I just think you can't underestimate what the power of good
Mhm.
film you can do. It taps into a part of our brain that deals with emotion and threat, reward, all these things, and it can. I'd like to think the performances are strong enough without it, but it really does elevate the scenes.
Yeah, well, and I think we continue to see as we watch it and even rewatch it, all of the little things, which are big things, that come together just to give us this full, amazing project. So,
Mm.
do you have a favorite behind the scenes memory from filming that still makes you kind of smile or laugh?
Um, I think I think Ryan actually mentioned it. There was one day where we finished slightly early and we just kind of walked around all the ruins
Mm,
and things. And that was a real pinch me moment because we were surrounded by the grounds and all this incredible architecture. The sun was setting. This little family had been formed, all thanks to John and Sarah's tenacity and drive and persistence and everything else. And we knew we were making something special. I think that was a moment where we were like, we've become this little family now. We've got so much love and respect for each other. It's a joy to work with each other. Everyone's very humble. There's no egos involved. And, you know, it felt really special. And I think we're all hoping for more because of that family dynamic that we've built. And I think we're all desperate to work together again and be with each other again. But yeah.
well, and Harry's become such a fan favorite that I think everybody's eager to see Harry's and Athena's story moving forward. So, and I haven't read the book. I'm gonna
Hopefully.
have to read the book now, aren't I?
You should read the book. It's great. And it's such a different side to Harry. And like I say, I've kind of had that version of Harry in my head for the off, and I've not been able to tap into that side yet. I really hope I get the opportunity to because I think it's great. I think it's a great story. It's a different kind of energy to Seeking Persephone,
Yeah.
but in a really fun way. It's a lovely story, very funny. And like I say, if they get it right with the casting for certain characters and things as well, I think it'll be brilliant. I think it'll be a treat. But we cross our fingers.
Absolutely. Harry brings the lighthearted, the comic relief, but you mentioned it, the kindness, and he really just wants the best for everybody. We get to see a pretty, like Harry goes down, Harry's sick, and are we going to get to see some of that drama type in number two if it happens, given that I haven't read the book?
Um,
You
to a
mentioned.
degree. I mean, I think it's more we see more vulnerability and despair. I think it really shines a light on how Harry really sees himself and his self-worth. And
Mhm.
there's a much more somber tone to Harry that we see or read about in the book that I think will be really interesting to play because I think it will be quite a shift from that
Mhm.
playful, almost puppy dog energy that
Mhm.
we love about Harry. And so to delve into a slightly, like I say, more somber version of Harry will be. I just, we're all talking like it's going to happen. We don't know. I just can't help but just wish that it will.
There's people that I have messages in my latest YouTube video with either Will or Ryan that said, "Who's starting the GoFundMe?"
Yeah, honestly, I think um, with what's ever happening behind the scenes, I know they're working so hard and everyone wants it to happen. I just can't imagine, something that has started from nothing that has come this far.
Yeah.
It's so rare and it's so unusual. And like I say, this industry is a very difficult place to navigate right now. And to sort of create something like this with such a wonderful fan base already and is performing so well, you just hope the momentum does continue. And like I say, we're all hoping that it does.
One of the fan questions, and I put this on the stories last night, like, what do you want me to ask Toby?
Yeah.
One of them was, does the second story, will it have still a continued Adam and Persephone storyline weaved in with Harry and Athena's?
I mean, I don't know. I've not read anything. I mean, I know Sarah's working hard. I actually don't know. I mean, I assume there will be. I imagine that given the nature of a screenplay and if they do another season and it's episodic and things like that, I think, and the demand for, people love Jake and Ryan, they love Adam Persephone, and of course they're going to want to know
What
how
happened?
it's been, how's it been going, So
Yeah,
I definitely think, it would make sense to
yeah.
present them opportunity to show the audience what's been going on for sure.
Well, and Will even mentioned, how can they, whether it's in the book or not, have, Persephone's dad there as well, like
Hmm.
to continue. So what adjustments might be made in a script in order to keep those characters in number two?
Well, I think it'd be filling in the gaps. I think, and I think with that's the beauty of something like a screenplay, a TV show, is there's creative freedom to bring characters in more. You hear about it all the time, and I don't think fans will be disappointed if, you know, Will's utilized again in the second season at all. Likewise with like Adam and Persephone and more of their relationship, because it's what people want and that's what people have invested in.
Yeah.
And it ended on such a beautiful moment. Uh, and then life has to happen, and to know, to sort of have be a fly on the wall to see what life has become, will be really interesting. And I also think, you know, how it affects Harry as well, because all of a sudden he really is this third wheel. He's gone from having his best friend, he can just walk into the bedroom and go wherever he likes, and now he can't. And so what's that going to do to his, I guess, in some degree, his isolation? Is it going to make him feel even more isolated?
Mm. So
So,
good. Yeah. Now, somebody mentioned I kind of felt a bit reprimanded and I took it because I hadn't read the book. But somebody had mentioned something about Harry pulling out Athena's chair at dinner, but that wasn't in the movie series. Is that in the book? Because I'm going to feel
um,
okay if I didn't. Because I was looking for an interaction between Harry and Athena, but that didn't happen.
no, I don't think that happens in the first one.
Yeah. So maybe it's coming, and now I feel better
I
because
feel like he did it or was meant to do it, or we did something different for Persephone, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't
I didn't
remember.
miss any interaction, did I? Because
No,
I was sitting here, no, I would have picked up on it. And I felt like, okay, I've got to go back. Where did I miss it? And I went back and I'm like, no, that's not in so I feel
what
better.
was no, yeah, no, I don't think you missed anything there. No,
Okay.
I think the initial reaction was obviously in the wedding, and then there was a really lovely moment when they're having dinner and Athena's name gets mentioned, and I really wanted to just give something there to be like, he's been thinking about her a lot.
Okay.
Whilst all this has been going on, Athena's name gets mentioned, and you just see a little glimmer. His
That's what
head,
I need to go back and look then. I
his
bet
ears
that's
prick up a little bit. Yeah.
okay. I bet that's what ours. Okay. Another fan question. Was there anything that wasn't scripted that made it into the final film, which I'm sure there was loads, but is there something that comes to mind?
Um, I mean, again, a lot of the physicality stuff,
Yeah.
like walking around, boots on the table and things. I'm trying to think. Oh, the bowing. There was a scene where it was on paper and it was like, Your Grace, Your Grace, Your Grace. That was all that was written. And I was like, okay, there needs to be three verb choices here. There's Your Grace to the Dowager, respect. There's Your Grace to Persephone, kindness. There's Your Grace to Adam. How am I really going to wind you up?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to do a really exaggerated bow. And apparently, the first time I did it, they were all laughing their heads off because I nearly banged my head on the kitchen table. I bowed so low. Um, so that was a little moment.
I think we've covered the major fan questions. Yeah, because I wanted to give everybody an opportunity to ask because sometimes they don't get to connect like I do. So we've covered that. Okay, talk about another project that you've worked on, which you shared at the beginning, that you're especially proud of that we need to go check out.
S-
Even if we have to VPN it into the UK.
uh, so, well, funnily enough, I actually just went back for a short stint on EastEnders. That's about to a bit of an explosive storyline that's just about to play out over all of August. Which again, I think it's on BritBox. So if you want to see a very
Oh, I have
different side of,
BritBox. I have BritBox.
he's in prison. He basically he murdered three people. He's been in prison for 4 years, and I went back recently to for a little return explosive storyline, and we see him in prison. So again, that's been so different from Harry going tapping back into that after 4 years of not playing him to then what has 4 years in prison done to this character. Um, So I'm proud of that. I'll always be really proud of that. I'm just trying to think now.
Well, we can always go back and watch. I have a large Hallmark audience, so they can get on Hallmark Plus and watch An American in Austin as well.
That was a great film. That was a great cast, great project, really funny script. Yeah, if you haven't seen that, that's worth a watch. We had a great time on that. I had to ride a horse for the first time, and actually that was the catalyst for me getting horse riding lessons for Seeking Persephone because
Mhm.
I auditioned for it and it was that classic thing of can you ride a horse? And I was like, yeah, I did a bit. I did a bit as a kid. I'll find out if I've got the part first, but let's just, and I had, but not for a very long time. Got the part, and then we said, what level of horse riding do we need? Nothing at all. You basically get to be sat on a horse. Great. Get onto set, this huge black stallion, absolutely giant. And then it was like the driveway from the gates to like Netherfield, the house, was about 150 meters long. And they just slowly filmed me on this horse. You could feel every muscle in this horse's back, and it was starting to get a bit irritable. And I remember the guy who played Mr. Bennett was like, just lift yourself up, keep your head high, and everyone will believe that you can ride a horse. And that's what I did. And actually, if you watch it back, you'll see me. I'm literally just doing that. I'm just trying to sell it. I'm just trying to sell it. But if this horse started to rear its head or anything, I would have been pretty screwed. But that was kind of like, okay, next time I go on a horse, I'm getting some lessons in. And I did. So in Seeking Persephone, when me and Jake were riding around, I'd had quite a few lessons by that point. So I was quite confident.
Yeah.
Not as confident as Jake because he's like a proper avid rider and he was galloping around all over the shop, looking very cool. But the actual scene where we both go like around the castle and they're both galloping, I couldn't
Yeah.
get mine to gallop for a while. And then it just decided it wanted to just go. So I said, Jake, mine's going. Jake's mine's going. We've got to go. We've got to go. So we just went. We just went. And Jake was like, "You sure? You sure?" I was like, "Go, go, go, John, film." So,
Do
and
it
it and it
now.
and it made it. And it made it into the edit. So.
Do you like, I mean, we'll share that John, he just goes, like he goes, he knows
Yeah.
what he needs, he goes. Do you like that style of directing? Is that challenging for you?
No, I mean again, because I did like a soap for 3 years, that's how we work. Like, you're shooting 12-hour days, you're shooting 12 scenes in a day sometimes. And that's what keeps me on my toes. I've done jobs where you're shooting a page a day and creatively it's jarring. It's not that enjoyable. So working with someone like John um is kind of my stomping ground. It's what I really enjoy creatively to do. And I remember showing my wife Seeking Persephone, and she was just in awe of the cinematography. And I was like, that's one guy. She was like, what? And she's an actress too. She's used to multicam and things. I was like, yeah, one guy. Every shot you're seeing is just John and his camera. And she was like, what? It's mind blowing how small that crew was. And for John to capture what he captured, just him and his small crew, it's just, you've got to have a very specific brain. And you'd go onto set and he would just be like, we're doing this, we're shooting here, we're shooting there, doing that, bosh, and then we'll move on. And you're just like, wow, get on that treadmill because if you're not on it with John, you're gonna
Yeah.
fall off.
Such a vision, such a vision.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
I'm interviewing him next week, and so I'm excited to get his take on it as well. So,
Yeah, that'll be really interesting. Tell me if you've got any more film scores to send them my way.
absolutely. Yeah. Favorite part of doing Seeking Persephone?
Favorite part of doing Seeking Persephone. Gosh, I mean, there's so many. I remember when I rapped, I said, I think this is the most favorite project I've ever done, and I think it was Sarah's husband was like, really? And I said, yeah, I've just never had such a warm experience with such a lovely group of people. Like I say, it was just such a humble experience. And to be together on set with such a small group of driven people whose hearts are so in this project for it to do well, everyone's working so hard to make this happen, I think just. I don't think there's just one specific moment. I think it was every day on set, just watching this progress, turning into something bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And you start seeing, like I say, John's mind working, and you can see because Sarah would always, the author would sit on the monitor and she'd watch the scenes play out. And like, I think there was a scene that me and Jake have at the end where he tells her to go after Persephone, and you could just hear Sarah sobbing. I was like, well, if the writer's getting emotional, then we're on the right track.
Yeah. Yeah. Jake said that. Seeking Persephone was his favorite project as well. So I can
It
see
feels
why.
really special. It feels really, really special. And like I say, I think that's why we're all rooting for more because we want that feeling again.
Absolutely. Well, it has been so much fun talking to you and
Likewise,
getting Harry's side of the story. And yeah, I mean, everybody's rooting for number two. We'll even mention, hey, it's smart. Go ahead and do two and three at the same time while you've got everybody together. So we're just gonna wish for two and three while we're at it.
absolutely. I mean, it's there. What's so wonderful about it is the books are there.
Mhm.
The story has now been, you know, exposed, and the characters have now been exposed to, big audiences, and and there's a future there to be explored. So yeah, we'll see.
How can everybody follow you if they want to keep up? Do you have a project coming up? Do you have anything coming up that we need to be looking for?
Well, again, waiting for something to be greenlit, which has been about 12. It's a sci-fi. Never done sci-fi before. Very cool script. Um, and we're just waiting for it to get greenlit. The one of the investors backed out last minute, and so it's been touch and go, touch and go. Um, but I've heard that it's, getting fairly close. So I could be doing sci-fi very soon,
Nice.
which would be a
Which could
very
also have an
different,
incredible score.
yes, yes, probably a different feel, probably more sort of Hans Zimmer-esque type.
I love it. Have you written any of your own stuff?
I have not for a long time. I mean, like I always wanted to be a film composer. It's something that, I just love it so much. And
Yeah.
there's not a day I don't listen to film scores. And one day when my 4-year-old and my 4-month-old maybe give it a minute to get back on the piano and things to sort of actually, you've got to commit a lot of time
Oh yeah.
to
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
But maybe one day.
Do you have a favorite? One that you just,
I adore a lot of things by Thomas Newman. Um, but like Shawshank Redemption's a pretty incredible score.
oh yeah.
Um, like obviously all the sort of cliche commercial hits, John Williams-esque, all those ones, obviously amazing. Thomas Newman's really interesting though. He's just got a sort of melancholy sort of vibe about him that I really like. It really sort of picks into your brain. You can go on a walk and listen to Thomas Newman, and it can really quite dictate how you're feeling.
Ah,
His music just tells a story that really certainly resonates with me. So
I'm going on a walk here in a bit. I'm pulling it up. I'm going to check it
Thomas
out.
Newman,
I'm
Thomas
writing it
Newman.
down. Okay. All right. How can everybody follow you to stay up to date on everything going on? Especially when you break the news that we're going back to film for number two.
Instagram is my
Okay.
main sort of source of social media. So it's Toby_Alexander_Smith. Um, I mean, I just posted something about Seeking Persephone recently, and the comments, it's just mad. Like the support is just mad. Like I showed my wife, I was like, look, how many people are rooting for this? Like it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
So I plan to do more. I know sort of Jake and Ryan have done an incredible, Jake especially, like the way he's interacting with this fan base is incredible. I should probably step up and do more, but it's Jake's time to shine as it is Ryan's as well. But certainly if we venture into the next season, then I'll be
Game
working a
on.
lot harder on social media for sure.
Game on. Well, it's been awesome to talk to you. I'm so excited. For those of you that haven't seen Seeking Persephone, what are you waiting for? You can see it now on, gosh, it's all over the place. Amazon, Fandango, Peacock here in the States, Angel Studio. What else? There's so many things. I saw something from With Love Movies, which is over Norway, Sweden, and all that. So I don't know how they're getting it, but it's over there as well, too. So lots.
It's crazy.
Lots.
Lots.
All right. Thanks so much. It's been great chatting with you.
Absolute pleasure. No, thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
I'm supposed to say, all right, cheers, right? Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Yes.
Cheers.